Welcome to Powerless Penguins United Big Book Study. This week I'm pleased to introduce Mags, who's come along to continue the Big Book Study. Over to you, Mags.
Thank you so much, Lois, as always, for your service. My name is Mags. I'm an alcoholic, and you know that drugs 100% are part of my story too. And thank you to Lois and everybody in the background that's doing service. Yeah, when I logged onto the meeting and you receive that lovely warm welcome, as you always do when you come to the Powerless Penguins. And the first thing that I think one of the first things I said was, this is when we're really getting into it, or something to that effect. Because where we are on page 63, the top of page 63 is, yeah, this is where we're really getting into it. So if you thought you've been really getting into it over the last lot of weeks, this is probably the third time in a row where I've said, like, this is where the rubber meets the road. Yeah, I've been reflecting on this part of the book for the last couple of days. Every now and again it keeps just popping into my mind. And I suppose for me, when we're all here today, that I don't know where anybody is on their journey. I don't need to. I don't know whether you've done your third step, whether you haven't, whether you're about to. None of that matters. But in this moment, because this is all we've got right now, is to, and I'll use the word from the top of the page, but sincerely set aside every single thing you think you know about this part of the program, your experience of it previously, in order for you to have a new experience with God in this moment. Because in the part of the world where I live, we don't often talk or share our experience in depth with what it actually says in here and what it's bringing to life for us here. I hear people say, and it's a natural way to describe it, isn't it? I've done my third step. I've taken my third step. But what does that actually mean? Because we know from last week that the third step in the short form that's set out on page 59 is that we decided to turn our will and our life over to the care of God as we understood Him. That's it, in the short form. But over the last couple of weeks, we've been looking at it in the long form, from being convinced on page 60 right the way through to the bottom of page 63. So the long form of step 3 is very, very, very detailed. And have you experienced this in its totality, from understanding what you need to be convinced of, the whole actor, actress running the show, the whole piece around the 22 different versions of self that are mentioned within that, plus the 100 forms of fear, the 100 forms of self, understanding that we must be rid of this selfishness. Why? Because it kills us. So how could this possibly be a selfish program for selfish people when we must be rid of the selfishness? That this is a selfless program based on altruistic spiritual principles to which our constant thought of others, our very lives as ex-problem drinkers and users, depends upon our constant thought of others. Like the thread from the beginning of the book right the way through almost, comes to a big lift at this point, because it gathers so much of that information together and understanding, why am I making this decision? Because all we're doing right now is making the decision to stop doing everything else that we've tried up to this point that hasn't worked, and make the decision to continue with this process in order to have a spiritual awakening as the result of the steps. That's all you're doing in this step, is making that decision, having faith in this process, that this process is going to change your life. And what we're going to cover on page 63 is a demonstration of what will happen when you sincerely take the position that we talked about last week, the bottom paragraph on page 62, that God is your director. You're no longer running your show. There is no show. That He is the principal and you are the agent. That He is the father and you are the child. That's the position that you're making the decision to go with. And in making that decision, something else happens. We're entering into, and this is often forgotten or not even mentioned when we talk about step 3, we're entering into an exceptionally prayerful exercise that starts from your 3rd step prayer right the way through to the end of the 7th step prayer. So in turning your will and your life over, the second half of the 3rd step, so the first half, made the decision. Second half, to turn your will and your life over to the care of God as you understood Him. You're making your decision in 3. You're saying your 3rd step prayer with sincerity, in understanding everything up to this point in the program and in the process. And in doing so, you're entering into a prayerful exercise where you are turning your will and your life over to the care of God as you understood Him in steps 4 through 7. And as a result of that, what you must understand is that you're not doing step 4 through 7 by yourself. You've requested another power to come in. You've requested the power to come in, to support you, to direct you, to guide you, to enable you to process and progress through turning your will and your life over. What tends to happen in the rooms is that we scare the living daylights out of people about the process of step 4 right the way through, beyond into step 9. Set all of that aside, people. Seriously. Oh, I don't want to do the step 3 prayer because of do 4, 5. Shush. You're only at step 3. We grow where we're planted. We turn the pages. We continue to let the book do the work. So this is why I'm saying it is so incredibly important when you're working with your sponsor that you're staying in this moment, that you're following the clear-cut directions in masterly detail as one should have been doing up to this point and has been doing up to this point anyway. As human beings, our natural thing is to jump ahead and jump ahead and jump ahead. That's, well, from my experience, my whole life was about not being able to stay in the present moment. And as a result of that, that's the reason why I had a drink. And that's why I used to take me out of the way of the fear of oh my God, this is going to happen and that's going to happen and I don't know what's going to happen in 2027. Well, why would you be worried about what's happening in 2027 when it's only the 11th of October 2025? That's what we do with the steps. We race ahead. Everybody's told me this, that and the other. No, well, it doesn't matter what everybody's told you. It's your experience in this moment. You know, we understand from that bottom paragraph when we have to quit playing God, the how and the why of it. We have to quit playing God. Do you hear that? Quit. It means stop altogether. It's like when we want to, that whole thing around alcoholism. When we want to stop altogether, it's the same that applies here. You've got to stop running the show altogether. Not just the bits that you think that are frustrating you in your life. It's everything. We've got to quit playing God. Why? Because it doesn't work. It doesn't work. I'm going to give you a really stupid example this morning. Honestly, a really stupid example. But this is where, when I go into my human brain, when I go into the wrong side of my mind, whatever way you want to call it, when I'm under pressure or, oh, but I have to do, and I have to look a certain way, You know, this morning I was completely and utterly frustrated because I couldn't get the wrapper off a high-end fashion retailer lip pencil, right? Now, what's that got to do with the price of thought? I know, you're thinking, what is this crazy doll on about? But I was getting frustrated with this little plastic wrapper around this lip pencil because I wanted to use this particular lip pencil. Like, who's going to notice the difference on a Zoom screen as to whether I've got lip pencil or not? But I tackled that thing. I tackled it for 22 minutes. 22 minutes of my precious life. When I should have been getting in the zone to be here with you guys, right? I know it's a first world problem, but it's relative to everything that I have the tendency to do with my life. I'm trying to run the show. I have an idea in my head, fixed idea. This is what I want to use. And I am going to try everything under the sun to get into that pencil. I had it in my teeth. I had it with scissors. I had it with a knife. Like, seriously? All for the want of I had to look, I thought, a particular way to be presentable to you, and you don't even care, right? Because then when I logged onto the meeting, somebody on the meeting shared with us very, very beautifully that they had tinted their eyebrows too dark, right? Now, when I came on the screen, that woman looked absolutely and utterly stunningly beautiful. I didn't notice anything about her gorgeous eyebrows, but you pointed out to us all that she's tinted them too dark. Like, see the things that take over our mind, that we think that we know, that we're projecting onto other people because we feel inadequate, because we feel that we're not going to look good enough. And we actually point that stuff out before anybody else points it out to us. Like, what's that all about? That's us running the show. I'm going to tell you about my lipstick, and the other person, my dear friend, is going to tell you about her eyebrows, because we don't want to place ourselves into a position to be harmed in case somebody looks at us funny and goes, have you seen her eyebrows? Or have you seen her lipstick? Who does she think she is? And I know that that's a really, really fickle example, but it's the only example that I can think of at this moment in time. And listen, people, I know that there's other genders on here, and I know that everybody loves a bit of makeup. I don't care what gender you are. We can all indulge in the lip tinting and the eyebrow tinting and all of that. So this is just not a female thing, right? Use males on here, or those that identify as males, or those that identify as females, or whatever gender you are. You've got the equivalent. It might not be the lipstick, it might not be the eyebrow tint, it might be the car that you've decided to buy that's as big as your ego, you know, and you don't actually need it. because you can only fit a tiny little car in your driveway, but you've decided to buy this massive, humongous truck with tires the size of Ireland. I don't know. I'm making this all up as I go along. But the point I'm trying to make here is, even in its most simplest forms, over the stupidest things, I'm trying to control this show. Mm-hmm. And the things can be relevant to the rest of our lives. You know, you replicate that over and over and over again in your work, in your family, in your life. What you want, what you think you need. For the outside world to accept you for why you are the way you are, when in actual fact inside, we just haven't got a clue what we need. We're running about aimlessly like a headless chicken with no direction, thinking that we can sort this life out ourselves when we can't. You know, I'm in this world to be that agent of God. Like it says on page 49, you know, instead of regarding ourselves as intelligent agents, spearheads of God's ever-advancing creation, and we agnostics and atheists chose to believe that our human intelligence was the last word, the alpha, the omega, the beginning and the end of it all. Rather vain of us, wasn't it? Because where my thought process was coming from this morning was complete and utter vanity. I've got to get honest with that with myself, you know. We've to quit playing God. Why? Because it didn't work. I now am in a different position in my life in the respect to the fact that I don't do God's job, but I do his work. There's a very significant difference. Think about that. I do God's work. I don't do his job. His job is his job. My work is to be his agent. If you think about somebody that's an agent, a football agent, a sales agent, or whatever, they're employed by somebody else to go and do the work. That's exactly my position when I'm coming into step 3. That I'm taking a different position in my life than I've ever done before. Simple as that. So I don't know what's going to make this work for you, but I'm going to read page 63, the top paragraph. These are very, very clearly the 3rd step promises. All of the promises are beautiful, all of them. These in particular, I don't know why they really, 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 truly touched my heart. I think it's because of the 3rd step experience that I had when I got out of rehab. But it's going to be a different experience for me this morning to what it was those couple of years ago. So whatever works for you, I'm going to read it in full, and then I'm going to go over it and go into a little bit of detail as to how we bring this alive. So close your eyes, turn off your monitor, do whatever you need to do to listen to these words so that you can really set aside every single thing you think you know to have a new experience with God in this moment. So I'll also emphasize some words within this as much as I can. So when we sincerely took such a position, all sorts of remarkable things followed. We had a new employer. Being all powerful, he provided what we needed. If we kept close to him and performed his work well. Established on such a footing, we became less and less interested in ourselves, our little plans and designs. More and more, we became interested in seeing what we could contribute to life. As we felt new power flow in as we enjoyed peace of mind, as we discovered we could face life successfully, as we became conscious of his presence, we began to lose our fear of today, tomorrow, or the hereafter. We were reborn. Like every single one of those words has depth, has weight, has meaning, is transformational. And you will know in your heart of hearts where your Creator has entered if you've experienced these promises in your life. Because remember page 25, the spiritual experience of the people that wrote this book is that they described it as the fact that our Creator has entered into our hearts in a way that is miraculous. And we go on into the third step prayer in a moment. The third step prayer in and of itself. We're not even in the prayer yet the promises have such depth and weight even before we enter into that prayer. They really are remarkable. So when we sincerely took the position, that being that you're no longer running the show, that he is the director, he is the principal, you're the agent, you're here to do his work, not to get what you want, to do his work, that he is the father, he's going to protect you, and you're the child, and you will always be provided for. That's it in its most simplest terms. So when you sincerely take that position, that's when all sorts of remarkable things follow. Remarkable being the fact that things become so astonishing. All of these miracles that start to take place are remarkable. So much so that we have to continue to remark on them. I'm constantly remarking myself as to how things have changed in my life as the result of having a spiritual awakening, as the result of the steps. I am constantly remarking on things that have taken place in your life, in other people's lives. When I see all of these things coming to life with other people having a spiritual awakening as the result of the steps, remarkable things are happening in my life. There's miracles everywhere in all of our lives. If, that's that little tiny conditional word, if we're awake to them. Because if we're not awake to them, you're not going to see the miracle. And all a miracle is basically is a change in my perception. It's a change in how I look at something. It's a psychic change, like the doctor talked about in the doctor's opinion. You know, the moral psychology, the personality change. Something is starting to happen here, right up to this point, where you're starting to see things differently. You're starting to experience things differently. But the rubber is meeting the road because literally in making this decision, you have a new employer. Notice that that word is capitalized. It's another word for God. You work for God. It's pretty immense. It's a big responsibility. But you know what? The God of my understanding is the best employer I have ever had. He pays so well. He pays so well. The annual leave entitlement is remarkable. And he's protected my pension for the future. Because he will always provide. I can see my friend Laws laughing on the screen. But isn't it true? Isn't it true? And when I say he pays me remarkably well, my perspective on life as a result of this has changed, because it's not the cash, it's not the dollar, it's not what's in the bank. Because no matter when I have thought I've been on the bones of my backside with not a penny in the bank, somehow or other, because I stayed close to him and did his work well, I've always been provided for. Even when I wasn't in employment, even when I didn't have a home, God still provided. That's what these promises are saying. So he is all powerful, not just a little bit. He is all powerful. God provides what I need at any given moment. I trust that he will provide what I need, but the condition is I have to stay close to him and perform his work well. That's why I do service. That's why you do service. We're performing his work well. That's why we sponsor. That's why you sponsor. That's why I'm of service and practice these principles in all of my affairs. I'm of service with my employer. I'm of service with my family. I'm of service with my friends. But it doesn't feel as if it's a separate entity. It just flows. It's just how my life is. It's what my life has become. It's what my life has been created to be through having had a spiritual awakening as the result of the steps. I never wanted to spend a Saturday morning doing this. No, it's my job. I don't necessarily previously want to be spending every Saturday night with the care and responsibilities that I have into a Sunday. That was never part of my life, but it is the role that has been assigned to me by God. Therefore, my Saturdays into Sundays are taken with the most beautiful experience of caring for a very, very special person in my life. I don't know how I do it other than it has to be the grace of God. So I'm sincerely taking the position where I am employed. I have a new employer. That employer is all powerful. He provides every single thing that I need as long as I stay close to him and do his work well. And having been established on this footing, I'm less and less interested in myself. My little plans and designs no longer matter. Back to the lip liner. I had a plan that I was going to put this particular lip liner on. No, it wasn't going to happen. My little plans and designs no longer matter. It's a really fickle, stupid example, but that's life. We can get ourselves so annoyed by the stupidest of things, when in actual fact, if I just let go of the idea that that lip liner wasn't going to open, I would have been much more relaxed for 22 minutes instead of fighting with the packaging. How often in your life do you do that? Genuinely ask yourself that question. Get honest with ourselves. How many times do we battle? Do we fight? Do we rage? Do we roar? Because we want something in our way in the moment that we want it, because we think we need it, because it's going to change our lives forever. Get over it. And I'm talking to myself as I'm saying all of this. You know I am. This is powerful stuff, people. Powerful stuff. That when we make this decision, all of this stuff happens. My little plans and designs no longer matter. Like, there'll be a day when I'm planning to do X, Y, and Z, and then somebody will phone and something else will drop in, and I'm like, really? You want me to do that? And then you take the breath, you take the beat and go, okay, let's get into this moment. Let's get into this moment. And then when we go into this moment, something else comes in. and gives me the guidance. It gives me the direction. More and more, we have become interested in seeing what we can contribute to life. What am I there to bring? What am I there to do? What am I there to shed the light on? What am I bringing to this party? What am I bringing to the workplace? What am I bringing to my sister, my friend? What am I bringing to this? Not what am I taking away? We got to give this away, give this away, give this away to get more back. Why? To keep on giving it away, giving it away, giving it away. We're paying it forward. You know what I mean? This new employer, I'm paid very, very well, very, very well. I keep on giving it away because I'm accruing my assets for my pension. This is what we're doing. We're giving it away to get more back, because when the certain trials and low spots ahead start to come about, we've got some stuff in the bank to call upon to get us through those trials and low spots. Okay, so the more and more that I'm thinking about you, less and less interested in my little plans and designs, more and more interested in seeing what I can contribute. Oh, what a word. What a word. What I can contribute to life. Isn't that amazing? What I can contribute. What a beautiful thing that is. But here's the thing, because this is what happens when we feel this new power, or power, as I say, new power flow in. It flows in. I don't have to go searching. I don't have to go grappling. When I sincerely take this position, this new power in this moment, this morning, flows right in. And every time I call upon that power, it just flows right in. Because it's changeless. It's limitless. It goes nowhere. You've heard me say it before. I'm a little carry case for God. Deep down in every single man, woman and child is the existence of a power that is greater than you. It comes everywhere with me. It flows all the time. There's no fight to be had. So when this new power, because it is new this morning, it's new power today. I haven't taken my third step prayer again. I haven't done my third step prayer again. But in this moment, new power is flowing in. It's a different power that was there at 7:30 this morning. It's a constant newness. It's a constant renewing. I'm not working on the old fuel from yesterday. No, it's relative. It's now. It's here. That's all that it is. I'm not calling on the power from when I did my third step prayer last January. No, I'm calling on it now. We're never running on the old. We're always running on the new, because in this moment, God knows what we need. God's not working on where I was last year spiritually. God's working on my growth right now. Flowing in. And as a result of that, God pays me well with peace of mind. There's no longer that hopeless state of mind and body. I am paid with abundance, absolute and utter abundance of enjoying peace of mind, because as I become more and more and more conscious just being aware of His presence. It's nothing more difficult or complicated than that. When I become more aware of His presence, as I have been doing, as I've been turning the pages up to this point and beyond, I do begin to lose my fear of what's going to happen today. I do begin to lose the fear of tomorrow and the hereafter. I'm no longer afraid to live, and I'm no longer afraid to die. You know, back in the day, when it talks about it in the doctor's opinion, you know, these whole things of We couldn't see the true from the false about our drinking. I was drinking to live and I was drinking to die. Completely lost in continuity in my thinking. But within these third step promises, I am no longer afraid of today, tomorrow, or what's going to happen hereafter. And don't be put off by that beautiful, powerful last 3-word sentence, we were reborn. Don't be put off by it. What people will tend to do is bring it to a barrier in their mind, a fixed idea, an old idea where they think, oh my God, these lot are born again Christians. And that will become a barrier that will shut somebody's mind down. It's the God of your own understanding. Because this is not the first time that you've heard something similar. In the doctor's opinion, Dr. Silkworth talks about the fact that our lives were recreated. It's the same thing. We were reborn. My life is the same life in the number of years I've been on this planet. But the life I have now is completely and utterly unrecognizable to the life I had before. I've been reborn. It's the only way that I can describe it in its most simplest terms. I feel as if I've been reborn. I don't regret the past, like it says in those 9-step promises. I don't wish to shut the door on it. Absolutely and utterly not. But the existence of what I have now in this life, with a spiritual awakening and becoming more and more awake every single day through the daily practice that we have, 100% we are reborn. Every single day I am reborn through the practice that this program gives me. What's good enough for today is not going to take me into tomorrow. What was good enough for me yesterday wasn't going to take me through today. This is where the spiritual progress that they talk about on page 60 comes to life. This is about spiritual progress, not perfection. So when I go to sleep last night, before that, I'm doing my inventory, I'm clearing down the day, and it's, please take this in the spirit in which it's meant, but I literally bring everything to a death last night. I do my inventory, I say my prayers as per the instructions, I bring the day to a death, and I resurrect in the morning to a new day. We are reborn. Every single day for me is a collapse and a rebirth, a collapse and a rebirth, a collapse and a rebirth. Because I'm not carrying anything from one day into the next, because our spiritual practice enables us to have the power to let the new thing flow, 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 flow all the time, all the time. But it takes practice. But we're only beginning this prayerful journey. Those 3rd step promises are so you will experience them. If you sincerely take this position, oh my God, all I would say is be ready. Ready means for immediate use. Be ready for immediate use, because there will be no end of the work. You will never be unemployed. You will never be sacked. You will never be placed on furlough. You'll never be made redundant. Every now and again there might be a change to your job description, but that's okay. Every now and again there might be a change to the location of the work. Every now and again there might be a change to the team that you work with. But as long as you stay close to Him and do His work well, you will experience a life of complete and utter abundance, because that is your inherent, absolutely, your inherent grace as a perfect child of God. Now set aside every single thing you think you know about what I'm saying, about what you think this, it might feel religious to you, it might feel, set all of that aside, because the reality of it is We are all perfect children of God. We are all perfect in the eyes of that Creator who has entered into our heart. We are all perfect in our mind, body, and soul to our Maker. And my right as a perfect child of God, as set out at the bottom of page 63, is to have things in abundance from He who has all power to enable me to have that abundance. And when I talk about abundance, I mean abundance not of this physical world. It doesn't mean the cash and prizes. It doesn't mean the dollar in the bank. It doesn't mean, it can do. Of course it can. For many people in the world, it does mean that, in the sense of they're rewarded and recognized for amazing work that they do, and they're paid very, very well in the physical sense. But for me, my psychic change has enabled me, my personality change has been given to me so much, where the ambition that I had and the drive that I had around work and making money and where I lived and what I had is totally and utterly changed, completely and utterly. I have an abundance of love, compassion, friendship. I have an abundance of peace. I have an abundance of prayer. I have an abundance of meditation. I have an abundance of being able to go places. I have an abundance of being able to tell the truth. I have an abundance of being able to tell you honestly how we can improve our relationships. I have an abundance of people that love me. I have an abundance of family that I've been reconnected to. My life is so full that I don't know what to do with it sometimes. I never thought life would be like that. And all those tiny little things that I would have missed become so significantly rewarding. All those tiny little things. The ability to have a good night's sleep. The ability to get a job in this physical world. The ability to be able to keep the job. That wasn't my life in addiction. And my ability to do this stuff now is not coming from me. The ability to do this stuff now is because I have made a decision. 100% made a decision to turn my will and that word is so incredibly important, and my life over to the care of God as I understood Him. Now that's a biggie. It's not just my will, it's my entire being, my entire life over to the care of God as I understood Him. Like when you took your third step prayer, when you did your third step prayer, whatever way you describe it, when you're thinking about doing your third step prayer with your sponsor in the not too distant future, are you really and truly prepared to make that decision to turn your will and your life, every single thing about it? Because that's the decision that you're making. That's what you have to let go of. That's what you have to, let go with complete and utter abandon. Like it's saying when we're going into chapter 5, how it works. Some of us have tried to hold on to our old ideas and the result was nil. Until we let go absolutely. Until we turned our life over. But listen, without help, the top of page 59, it is too much for us. But here's the thing. There is one who has all power. That is God. May you find Him now. In every single moment, every single second of the day, may you find him now. You're not doing this prayerful exercise by yourself. Because if you think you are, get over yourself. You don't have that much power. You don't have that much control. Never mind over the drugs and the alcohol. No. You've been grappling for control of your own life and it's not getting you anywhere. So allow something else to come in. Reminder, half measures availed you nothing. You might be thinking, do you know what? Take my will, but I'm going to keep on to those little bits in my life. No, half measures avail you nothing. You're standing at a turning point right now. Are you going to ask for his protection and care with complete abandon? Because that's where you're at. This is all a gentle reminder of the stuff that we've already talked about on page 58 and 59. We're entering into this prayerful exercise. Are you going to ask for his protection and care with complete abandon and allow this thing to do what it needs to do to bring you to a completely and utterly different life where you will be reborn, where your life will be recreated, where you won't even recognize what's going on in your life? Don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of what's going to happen. Because your little plans and designs no longer matter. Are you contributing enough to life? Or are you still worried about what you need? Are you still worrying about or thinking about what you need to get? The relationship, the job, the money, the holidays, the Botox, the hair extensions. Where am I going with all this beauty stuff this morning? I have no idea because I'm not interested in one single solitary last jot of it. Seriously. Don't know where this is all coming from. But these are the things that affect us. Do you know? These are the silly little fickle things that affect us. Well, put on a few pounds this week. So what? Eat the cake. Eat it. Go. Bring sweet things into your life. Do it. Don't stop yourself from having a beautiful life, you know? We get caught up in all of this stuff. When in actual fact, what we're doing, what this brings to us is fulfillment internally, where we can feel the flow, where we can feel the presence, where we are conscious, we are aware of this presence. And in having that, the fear will and does get removed. And I'm spending a lot of time on this one paragraph this morning, because next week we're going to go into that prayer and we're going to understand what that prayer actually means, what that prayer is in your life, what you're actually asking for when you say that prayer, because you're not doing the prayer. You know, it's this prayer is a conversation with a power that is greater than you. It's a conversation. You're not talking to God. Our practice is that we're talking with God. It's a two-way relationship, like you would have with a newfound friend. That's what it talks about on page 13 in Bill's story. My new friend. The word friend is capitalized. You know, we're building this relationship with a newfound friend. And it's handy enough that he's also our employer. So this two-way thing, this beautiful merging, if you like, where we become one. There is one who has all power. May you find him now. We're merging, because the reality of it is, and think about this, might cause some confusion, but here's where we're working towards as we go into our step 3. We're handing our will over. We're handing our life over to the care of God. We're going to do that through the practice of 4 through 7. But the reality of it is, my will is God's will. My will is God's will. When I am one with God, our will is the same. It's only when I decide to step away that it becomes separate. The will and the power of God never leaves me. It's changeless. It's limitless. It's ever present. Omnipresent, as it says later on in the book. Forever present. So sit with those beautiful third step promises over the course of the next week. Feel that new power flow in. Get ready for it to flow in, because you have to experience the third step prayer to be able to be released to the promises, you know. The promises don't come just by sitting and listening to this. You've got to take the action. You've got to do the work, you know. You've got to move through the stages and have a spiritual awakening as the result of the steps. These promises just don't come alive via that lovely word that is used in the fellowship all the time, via osmosis. I experience these promises because I do the work. I experience these promises because I take the action. And I can safely say, without a shadow of a doubt, every single one of those promises exists in my life to the extent that sometimes I can't even articulate the power. I can't articulate what is happening in and through me for me to be able to do what I do. Something else exists. Something else is at work. And there's nothing for me to work out. There's nothing for me to figure out. It's for me to have the experience. So allow yourself to have the experience. And sit with those promises over the course of the next week and think about what would be, what will become when you do this third step with your sponsor. It will be so remarkable you'll not know how to talk about it. But we'll know what you mean when you do. I'll leave it at that, loves.